Welcome back here with Money, Money, Money. We're discussing the best spending habits to cultivate and nurture. And our expert this week is Feroz Aziz of Anand Rathi Private Wealth Management. So Feroz, we've spoken a little bit about, the kind of things that you should be spending money on. But is this something that actually changes with age? I mean, when you're 20, should your priority list be very different from when you're 30? Should things be phased out as you move into your 40s? Does it actually happen that way?
Correct. It actually happens that way, and spending patterns dramatically change with age. People who are younger maybe spend more on technology, and people who are older, they spend more on experiences like dining, fine dining. Okay, and when you're young, you certainly you live on a vada pav, for example, but you would still not compromise on your electronic gadget which you wish to buy. Spending patterns have a dramatic change as age progresses, and it should, and the natural progression of spending habits should ideally change. I think older people should be more wiser when they're spending, and they automatically become that because you're spending the money which they earned, because there's a correlation between time taken to earn it and spend it. If you're spending your one-day salary on something which is one meal, it'll be very difficult to do that unless you were earning that one day. You're spending one day to earn a meal. That doesn't seem wise. If it's your dad's money, then the behavior is dramatically
that's just simpler. It's just really simple. I can imagine that. But tell me one thing. You mentioned the experience of, say, dining out. So should people actually be spending on experiences and not just objects?
See, whenever it comes to experiences, now I would say that if you're spending on objects, of course both are important. Experiences should be spent on when you have company, when you are actually creating an experience with a fewer people. I would not want to spend on experience when I'm just dining alone maybe. Right, so experiences have to have a lot of other people so that the experiences stay in the memory for longer periods of time. You would not remember a sole trip taken abroad, but if you had 10 people along, and that's an experience which I would love to spend on.
Yeah, but sole trips are becoming all the rage now, Feroz.
Correct. Yes, of course it's becoming a rage because people don't want to be
invest in yourself, invest in your own experience.
But I would say experience is better spent on when you have other people sharing the experience. The longevity of that in your mind is what you've spent it for, and that's longer psychologically than actually going alone and spending that time.
Okay, so whatever works for whoever, right?
Yeah,
but, just a disclaimer, I mean, it almost seems like we're giving a blanket approval for anything that feels good or anything that, you'd like to experience and you haven't done it so far. But that's not the case, is it? I mean, it doesn't mean that you go out and go actually over your budget.
Yeah, absolutely. You can't have a blanket approval to actually spend on things which make you feel good, because if that's the case, then you end up spending everything which you earn and potentially earn as well. With a credit card maybe becoming so easy for somebody to get. So you should only spend on things after you have acquired yourself the need to have goals, the need to have objectives are fulfilled in the form of investments, is when you have been liberalized to actually come into that category. So you have to check whether you have moved on from need to have to good to have goals. If you are an individual actually moved on to the second category, then you can actually not be too tight-fisted and be more expense friendly than you should.
Which is why retirement holidays are so big, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
But so no revolving credit for anything that you think is just a good to have experience unless it's an emergency, right?
Absolutely. Revolving credit for something which is not a necessity, hardcore necessity of day-to-day life, is actually a recipe for disaster, financial disaster.
But Feroz, where does one actually draw the line between good spending habits and impulsive buys? Something may make me feel good and I may really think that it's really important for me and purchase it on an impulse. I mean, where does this stop?
See, so how does somebody evaluate? Because everybody's behavior is very different. So all you have to do is you have to just introspect with your previous spendings. That's a very good way of throwing light to your spending pattern itself. If you actually list down any item which you've spent more than an X amount, like 10,000 rupees, and then see the last 10 items I spent 10,000 rupees on, how much of it do I use today? And if the answer comes, only 2 of them, then it's clear that you're an impulsive buyer and you need to be never actually indulging yourself so
And in the
deeply.
same vein, I suppose also pruning your expenses on things that you don't need, right? A gym membership may be important, but if you haven't used it for 2 months, then cut it out, and that'll become your good spending habit as well.
Absolutely. As I think the net the point I'm trying to make is introspecting on your previous spending, which people don't do. Okay, categorizing your wardrobe, saying that what haven't you used for so long, and then that will tell you that you're actually spending more than you should, maybe. So.
All right. So there are things that you must need, there are things that you must have, and there are things that you can do without. You just have to know which to put in what basket. Feroz, thanks very much for joining in. Appreciate your time, and thanks very much for advising our viewers.
Thank you so much.
All right. On that note, we'll take a very, very quick break. Still ahead is our tip of the week. Stay tuned.